All right. Before we transition into the next topic, I think Doc had another book he wanted to share.
Leaders and quiet leaders versus loud leaders. And often we can do a person coming in as low on the stage and quiet voices on the stage. Good and great talks about the different kinds of leaders. And typically the person is quiet. You may see the leader that's the CEO on a tractor on a weekend. Doing things like that. We don't have to be in front. In the Playboy role, I guess, it's a leader. And there's a book called Quiet by Susan Cain. It talks about people that are leaders and just the life of being quieter by nature, how you can lead. Very good research. Good and great will tell you that typically the people that are successful, just like everything they're reading, being quiet and listening to learn instead of listening to respond. It's easy to listen to respond, but to listen to learn and really read someone's body language and get a feel for where they're coming from. Even if you don't exactly do what they want you to do, know that you're listening and adding value to the organization, not to get other people's influence. So critical.
That's good.
Thank you, Dr.
No, that's great. All right, we're going to start our deep dive into followership. And as Dr. Loden and I were kind of discussing what we thought might be interesting conversation for you all to have, he said this, and I grabbed onto it. You never know the true nature of a person until you give them power. Now, what does that mean to you?
The first thing it makes me think of is their power going to be used for a selfish purpose or for others? I feel like that's the first thing that you notice, because it gives you some input on priorities for that person.
I think sometimes you assume that a person is not a leader or a leader or whatever based on what you see them do, but until you give them the power to actually make change in a situation, we don't actually know. Some people will rise to the challenge, some people won't. Some people have followed through, some people literally don't. You just observe until you actually give that to them. You don't know how they're going to rise to that challenge, if they're going to actually go through with it, if they're going to collaborate with others, if they're going to bring people in with them. You don't know how they're going to lead and what they're going to do with it until you do that. There's many ways to use it and many ways to lead. So there's no way to anticipate that.
You know, hearing you say that makes me think of how in this class you're taking, many times you will hear about shared leadership, participatory management, and those theories are so important. However, what I've noticed with some young leaders is you learn that, and then once you're given the power, it's hard to release it because sometimes it's because you just feel like it should be a certain way, and I'm the only one who knows what that way looks like, so I should be the one who does it. However, by releasing that power, many times it ends up becoming even better than what you thought it could be, and here you've now uplifted others and empowered others.
I think sometimes with students, we try to withhold power from them, withhold responsibility, withhold pieces because maybe that will help them apply, do what we want them to do. And we truly can't know what that student is capable of until we actually do give them some responsibility and an opportunity to show who they are. And then that in turn builds relationships. So it isn't always about bad power that you're giving them. It's about an opportunity for leadership or growth.
Think about like the lottery, and people who win the lottery and then they go bankrupt after a year and a half. It's because they didn't understand the concepts of finance or how to manage money or things like that. power, similarly, you know, really wise words I once heard, like, grow slow. You know, like, allow yourself the time that you need to develop into the leader you need to be, because power just shows what's there already at different points in your development.
How does being a good follower help you or set you up for eventually receiving more responsibility and more power?
I think if you're a good follower, you pay close attention to what a good leader does. So then you have appropriate tools for what you're going to do when you're a leader.
See, I would disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I think as a good leader, you have to tolerate outside the box thinking and guide it to become productive. So, because good followers sometimes want to, their whole goal is to please the leader rather than think on their own. I'm thinking of this as a
No, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because you're describing me. Like, I'm very much a by the book, let's follow the rules. You're my leader, you tell me what to do, okay, I'm going to do just that. So I don't see that aspect. So I'm glad that you pointed that out, because that's me.
It's the kid that was in class that was all about causing a disruption or getting the treatment truck back or making the substitute cry. I could see those kind of things coming a mile away in class. So, yes. It's been a lot of time.
Still don't get it.
Yeah, true. Guilty.
And I also think leadership is also cultivating that idea that it's okay to fail as long as it is productive.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we're not necessarily given that chance.
Sure.
I guess it's hard to find a follower. One of the things that I know people have said about me is that I'm always in the back. So sometimes a leader leads from the back, from the front. So if you're following behind all the people you're leading, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You're looking from the back at everything everybody's doing, and you're inspiring them to move forward, and you're looking at all their strengths, and you're helping them see those, and you're also being willing to dig in. When you're a follower, you're doing all the hard work. You're willing to pick up any job. It doesn't matter what the work is that has to be done, you're willing to do it as a follower. Well, as a leader, you should also be willing to do those things. You should know all the jobs that are there. Not that you're doing all the jobs, obviously delegating is a huge part of being able to do that, but you should know them, because if you don't know what you're asking people to do, then they aren't going to want to do it, because they don't think that you care enough to understand what you're asking them.
This is great conversation. Somebody was talking?
How you define follower.
Yeah, no. Toward the bottom here, unity, buy-in, implementing change. What is our role as the follower? How do you think that plays into that?
I really don't think that following is necessarily following with a blind faith. I think you can be a really good follower and still be a critical thinker and think, what I would have handled this the same way. Is there what is this leader doing that makes it so easy to follow? What makes me want to follow them? And how do they decide when there's not money for everything? How do they decide which one to do? I mean, you can see those things as you follow and still be a kind of critical thinker on your own, as long as when you have a policy that you're upholding, or when you have a direction that you're told we're going to go this direction. I totally think it's okay in your own mind to debate back and forth. It's just you make sure that you uphold the institution's direction, publicly and all of that, and give it your all. But I don't think it's bad to question sometimes, because if we just blindly follow, then who knows if there's a better path that we could have been going down.
That's a great point. In education, we use the phrase, do what's best for kids all the time, don't we? And sometimes there's a whole lot of gray area in there when you may think what I think what's best for kids, you think parents, or there's so many different interests. And we have to have an open mind within certain discussions and ideas. But then, like what you're saying, once the decision's been made, hopefully consensus came for that decision, we're all behind it. There's unity in that.
I think the key to that is transparency. As a leader, if you're like in your situation, deciding money between two different groups, that's like is it king who split the baby? Right?
Solomon.
Yeah. As long as you're transparent about the decisions you're making, I think people are much more willing to accept those decisions, even if they don't agree, because then they understand where you came from in making that decision.
And then you spend a lot of time considering both sides.
Yeah, I think that transparency is a key to being a good leader. Sorry, I'm so good at that shit.
We're all about the children, but at the same time, the higher you go, you're going to make decisions that hurt children. And as a superintendent, I make decisions that hurt children. And we have to weigh out lots of stakeholders, input from teachers, administrators, and the community, because the buildings, the dollars, and the children belong to the community. We're entrusted to take care of it. The green book. If a child comes to me and they're in kindergarten and they're on the second grade level, the parents are trusting me to figure out how they can go on the third grade level or higher. If a child arrives and they're behind, our goal is to have a trajectory of teacher growth. That alone means we're having to allocate resources. Some groups don't like the way we allocate more than others, and we have to balance it. The decision today helps be more fluent on grade level group because the parents are saying, well, what do you have for gifted and other programs for me? And I need to understand that I need to have decisions that will help the other group to balance things out. You have sped advocates that will take every dollar you have to spend. We need to take care of our special needs children, but every day you're balanced. If you look at our high school right now, we have a school that's 18 years of age. We're over capacity in so many areas. We need to have programs, things that allow our art program, music program, theater program, other programs to thrive so people want to move here. But we have elementaries that we know growth and want to need help. We have a junior high. So you have a lot of different things coming at you as a leader, and you need, like with the CSIP, lay it all out on the table, let the stakeholders hash things around. What will the next generation mix will look like? Will we have a year-round calendar? Will we have different start times? Will we have, and when you harness that potential, everyone's not going to be happy. But at the end of the day, a lot of different people are going to input. This is what our community's decided. And as superintendent, I'm not going to be happy if I was king for a day. But the board and community just say, this is the direction we're going in. And I'm going to put my happy face on if there's something I don't like. And you're going to let me know. And we're going to make sure we do our best to do what our community would like. Y'all, the teachers, if you're planning to go to your peers and you're all in algebra, all third grade, once you agree on the path, you have your own strategies you use, but at the end of the day, you would like to be at a certain point. And when you take a snapshot, if you're not quite where you need to be, you're going to make adjustments and be working with your peers and what worked for you, because I'm more behind you. And share ideas, learn together, that follows you.
That's good. Well, these two middle bullets kind of go together, servant leadership and an interesting way to view the golden rule. So anyone have any thoughts on this? Just in general, servant leadership, and then listen to the way the golden rule is rephrased in this statement: do unto others as they would want done to them.
We all communicate differently, we all have different love languages and things like that, and so something that I might respond to might not be the same that Liz would respond well to. So when dealing with her, I need to treat her more as she wants to be treated because she doesn't want to be treated the same way.
think that viewing that as a new way of golden rule, the original, you're thinking about yourself more and how you're impacting other people, whereas this is just about the other person, like how you treat other people. Rather than thinking, how do I want to be treated, so that's how I'm going to treat other people. It's just about them.
I think if you become selfish, you stifle growth. And so I think about, selfless leadership, servant leadership, thinking about others who want to be treated. Your focus is on others. Your focus is on the mission, on the vision. It's not on yourself and what it would be comfortable for you. And so allowing others to disrupt your plan, and see, like you said earlier, seeing how that could empower others to be a part of the journey, instead of you taking up the standard in the crusade and saying, "Look what I accomplished." It's more about what we did together. And I think you learn that. You have to learn that early.
Other thoughts?
I think that servant leadership just can have a dynamic impact on your relationships with others. It changes from this relationship of me to you, here I'm delegating this to you, where someone mentioned that earlier, that has to happen, but it changes the focus of the relationship and makes it less about yourself and more about others, which totally impacts the way that you're received.
That's good. Dr. Loden was mentioning the quiet leader and the importance of listening. I think that fits nicely within the servant leadership model. Seek to understand before being understood. Okay, moving on then. I wanted to share with you a presentation that comes actually straight from Strengths-Based Leadership. And the authors of the book looked up a study that Gallup did. It was a random sampling study, over 10,000 followers. What did they want from their leader? And 4 things were mentioned that really came out clearly from the research from these 10,000 followers, folks that were polled. The first one was trust. They mentioned in their research that the speed and efficiency increases immensely in a trusting environment. And this one, I don't know how they measured engagement, but I thought it was fascinating. 1 in 12 engagement when employees don't trust their boss. Non-trusting teams talk about the lack of trust constantly. The teams where there seems to be a good, solid amount of trust, they don't necessarily have to talk about it. Within your team or organization, or maybe past districts, current district you're in, what do you think about trust? John mentioned transparency. It's a little bit easier, I think, to trust what's happening in a district when there is transparency happening.
I think it also provides a safe space to fail too. And we talked a little bit on Friday at our collaboration that you're either the person that remembers the most or learns the most from the successes, or there's the people that learn from the failures, but you need that safe place to fail and grow.
I think ideally, he's right, you always want to have as much transparency as you can, but there are situations that require some confidentiality, and I know in teaching and administration, there's just some times where information, you can give what you can, and then some of it you have to hold back a little, and so in times where transparency can't be 100%, that's where relationships come in. And so that's where you have to have those relationships, and you have to focus on those relationships all throughout, because the trust is there from the relationship. You can't force that trust. It's built, and it's something that you earn. It's not something you can demand. And so I know firsthand you can't always be transparent, but you can have those relationships.
When there's enough equity of trust.
When there's enough equity, and trust, it can be there with you without 100%
Number 2, they found people wanted compassion from their leader. There was some research put out a while ago called Firms of Endearment. And it was like the top 5 organizations that care deeply about their employees. I don't remember which organizations they were, but I feel like maybe Disney was up there, or maybe it was Google. More likely that an employee will stay with that organization, and the genuine care for it. You think about someone, it goes a long way when your leader comes up to you and just asks, how's life going, or takes a personal interest in what's happening in your life.
Those are the leaders that you remember. I think back to when I started teaching, and I think about the principal that I had, and just the genuine care of what's going on with you, and your family. And I know your spouse, like I know your firstborn kid, I know the struggles that or in the successes, and I am happy for you, or I am sad, and when they spoke, you believed it, and you responded, and it wasn't just about work at that point, like it was about, okay, I'll run through a wall, and do whatever you need me to do.
Foxhole.
Yes, because you care, I think that, that spoke volumes to me when I was early in teaching, and it still speaks volumes today.
That's good. Personal phone call goes a long way from somebody you really think, highly of. Even just the contacts that you all make with your students and their parents, man, it's huge. Other thoughts on compassion? Number 3, stability. The leader is consistent whether things are going great or things are going horrible. There is a feeling of security despite the situation or circumstance. Transparency, mentioned already. I heard one person say this, and I thought, that's really interesting. You know how sometimes we think life goes like this. It's up and down and up and down. He said, I really believe life is more like 2 trains. And one train is bad stuff, and the other train is good stuff. And they're going at the same time. And it's really which train you tend to spend the most time on. And that life is really about our attitude and how we respond to it. And when you have a leader who can put that in perspective sometime, you don't ignore hard stuff. We can't live in a Pollyanna sort of world. But attitude does go a long way. Last one is hope. Second bullet, do you spend more time initiating or responding? The putting out fires versus building vision. People want to know that we're going somewhere, that there is a future here. We have a solid vision for what we believe our district can become. Have you ever been in a place where there's no hope?
Yes.
That's tough, isn't it?
It's called research.
Mine was just called something else.
What do we need to do then as leaders? Because the reality is, Dr. Loden's mentioned earlier when we were talking about time and balancing time. As an assistant principal, as a principal, it's some days it's just all you're doing is fighting fires all day. What can we do then as leaders in balancing that? We are spending some time on that 20% that ends up leading to the most growth.
If you give the followers a bucket of water to put the fire out, if you give them and empower them to use their own resources, your fires gradually diminish. And that goes back to, as a leader, I think it's also important that we be able to trust our followers, that we understand what's going on, that they're stable enough to make those decisions. And on both sides of hope, that we hope they make the right decisions. And if they don't, they trust us that we have their back to get them through those bad times.
It's also important just to make it a priority to schedule it into your day. That you're going to go do that classroom observation or whatever you want, and nothing gets in the way of that. There's never enough time in our day. So what's another 40 minutes? And you schedule it and you just hold true to it because it's that important.
It's a good point. When you know you're about to have a day full of difficult things, try to schedule at least one thing that is enjoyable. And maybe it is just that phone call home to say, wow, Johnny was awesome today, or whatever it is that keeps you fired up about the profession. It's good. You have to be intentional about that time. I don't know why we always use Johnny.
My mom was thrilled not to get phone calls home. Sounded a lot.
Sorry, I think on hope, part of that too is the good leader's ability to just kind of have their thumb on the pulse of the organization. You know, they can feel a change coming before it gets there and kind of steer the ship back in the right direction before everything rolls downhill.
I'm going to piggyback on this. One thing too, people just assume, oh, he's a superintendent, he knows everything. Or Dr. Cobb's assistant, he knows everything. If there's rumblings or smoke, under the flag from the right with us. We need to know. I'm not afraid to have negative feedback. If something's not working or implementing a new initiative or whatever, and there's resources needed or fires, we need to hear that. It's not always fun hearing negative things, but I'd much rather hear it from you and know there's a problem than not. You think everything's great and boom, it all breaks with it.
I think if all you hear is positive, then they're not telling you the truth.
Something's wrong.
Like, that's not life.
It goes back to that trust piece. If all you're hearing is positive, then are the people who you're leading really trusting you to be honest?
Well, those are the four things that, according to Gallup, followers want. What leadership model, what leadership theory helps meet those four needs? You all have probably had some initial exposure to different leadership theories, different leadership models, and so maybe just take a minute or two to discuss a few with people around you, and then we'll share your favorite leadership theory, leadership model. Like one that's been mentioned already is servant leadership. Okay, so talk about it. We'll maybe come back together in about two or 3 minutes. I think after this activity, I think this one can probably just mix, because I don't know that we're going to have time for it. We're out of time. Do the matrix. He likes them to have a little extra time to talk about the assignment and have time. So we're out of time. Yeah. It's a good conversation.
Which is what happens a lot. The transformational is the word
This would be good for them just to kind of brainstorm some ideas, because it will help them in their assignment as far as maybe something that they can write to on their theory of leadership. What's your favorite leadership style? Situational. My go-to. Yeah. Did my dissertation on transformational leadership. High powered schools. I really wanted to learn this. Is there a particular leadership style that works best in an environment like that?
So how do you?
And long story short, the only significance that I found within the design of my study was that in a very, kind of like the book that you shared, The Hatchet versus the Rewards, in that kind of exchange leadership style, the negative side of that had an inverse relationship to success. Carrots and sticks typically work.
In your triple 90 schools, usually you'll find a good leader. The thing I've noticed though is they only last a certain period of time, and then they go somewhere else, and if you're not careful, it goes back. It's put it overnight. I spent a lot of time studying the triple 90s a long time ago. You can never find a district per se. You can find schools. Have you ever looked at a district that was able to turn around an entire district?
So there is that.
I don't know that I've really researched it. So.
So I started looking at people because we're a little close to bed, had a triple 90. Where can you find one that's sustained for a long period of time, multiple leaders?
What's your thought on the length of stay of a leader? I don't know what the research says, but is it better for a leader just to be the consistent person for a long period of time, or kind of these models where then they shake things up every 5 to 6 years within the organization? In fact, I had this one teacher tell me that her principal decided a change was needed. Had a cup full of sticks. This is who's teaching kindergarten. This is who's teaching first grade. And listen, she said it was the best year ever. With that, I know.
I'm going to capitalize on that.
That is a little too much to put on chance, isn't it?
I think you owe it to your organization to, like at I said last year, I'm firing myself. I'm stepping back and looking at everything's been put in, going through it with a fine-tooth comb, what's working, what's not, what needs to be modified, tweaked. I think you have to have that approach. So your first year when you implement something, you got keys to work out, you stay true to it, and the second year, refining by year 3 is kind of your own, but it takes a couple more years to fine-tune it still. After about 5, 6, 7 years, and then you go back through it again. And I did that this last year. I moved a really good principal into a different role. Just learn new perspective. Because even though she's a good principal, school's a good school, you're just going to perk up a little bit. New principal.
I don't know about you, but every time there's been a change in my career, man, it's been good. It's been a good thing for me as far as...
Even like if you change the job, it's not like that's it. You learn so much about you. You know, in some church literature, 7 years. In education, I don't think how people stay long enough
to know.
You know that, you're superintendent.
No. I think there's definitely a...
Wow.
For that in leadership.
Okay, quick discussion, leadership styles. The reason why we want you to spend a little time on this actually is because one of your assignments that Missouri State needs you to do is a paper on leadership styles. And so Dr. Loden and Dr. Chastain and I felt like, well, we should have some discussion about it. So leadership theories. What's your background? Do you have one that resonates with you? What do you think?
Sorry, I said we Googled. Every group just Googled.
What'd you find?
We found, sorry, still the problem we're using, transformational leadership was something that we had experienced at the junior high through when we were under Dr. Wilson. We felt like this was very similar to how she led. And that it had, when she would come in and she would ask us, what are you doing? And she didn't really make a call, yes or no, or a good or bad, or she would just be like, okay. And that left us with like, okay, I can do this, because there wasn't really situations, but it had its time and its place. And we felt that as we went through every single one of them, that the situation, whether it was transactional or servant leadership, as we went through each one of them, we kind of were like, okay, we can think of a situation where that would be good, and for this one, hopefully we can think of a situation where that would be good. And that even though each of us has our own natural leadership style, we can see the benefit in each one of them. It wasn't a good or bad necessarily. It was just the situation playing itself out. We listened to each other.
Awesome. Somebody else? Starting to reach the 6 o'clock hour, I think, Dr. Lode.
I think it's kind of scary as thinking of yourself in the leadership role when you can identify with one of them and then you go, ooh, I don't like that about myself. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when I read some of them, I'm like laissez-faire and how much that would irritate some people because they want that structure, but my own personality is just like, more free, and that's kind of scary. And thinking about a future role as a leader, like bringing those all together and making sure that works for your team, and being effective at the same time,
Yeah, laissez-faire has a negative connotation, doesn't it? There's a piece of it where you are getting out of the way, hopefully, of people being successful. I didn't think they said Ronald Reagan had components of laissez-faire leadership.
Well, and if you have that trust within your team, it's...
Yeah, I think honestly, it relates to 80-20 right there. I mean, you're putting that trust in that they can do their job.
I like in transformational leadership the social systems, because schools are social systems. And when the society starts to break down and you're not valuing all members within the society, your society starts to become corrupt. You start to marginalize certain populations, and education should always focus on inspiring all learners. Become self-learners, teachers, administrators, students. And that's when they said Google, it's not about the answer, it's where you can find the answer, and inspiring that in fellow leaders and students.
I heard John use the word inspire multiple times. I think as you are researching whatever leadership style it is that you're leaning toward, that's what true leadership is. It's how do you inspire others to hopefully become better.
Let me ask a quick question. How many of you, your passion is at-risk kids? That's your home, that's where you're on. Okay? Let's say 5 years from now, you're ready to be a principal, and the state has passed laws where if you reach a certain level academically, you can have charters and vouchers, and you have to send your kids out of district. Springfield, I'm going to say Springfield calls, we'll pay you $100,000 to turn them on. Had 3 principals in 3 years, 30% turnover rate of faculty every year. They're horrible test scores, and you have 2 years to get it stabilized, to 3 years before you're out of a job. We'll pay you $100K to do it. What style will you have when you walk in the door? You're going to be a transformational leader and a trusting leader? What's that?
I said, I don't know how else you do it. If you're asking for results like that, you better get people to trust you, and relationships is key. I mean, you can't get those kind of results without buy-in, without people knowing you care and getting people to care and building relationships. I mean, yes, it's going to take a good portion of that time, but you're looking at results that no one's been able to accomplish.
3 people in 3 years.
Right, I mean, and that's deep down relationships. And if you've ever worked with at-risk kids and people that work with them, burnout's high, and boy, that's people skills right there. That's not, slightly better environment. Yes.
I think you better
I mean, there's other
be spending a
components, but-
lot of time with your faculty in their classrooms.
Yeah.
In those first few weeks, so you can identify, again, the strengths of the faculty, and I think you have to start looking at creative solutions, like if you do have teachers that are better with at-risk kids, or teachers that are more structured, like math teachers, what population will they best serve, and can we start shuffling kids into classes where personalities of teachers match better and results can be achieved faster?
I don't think a dictatorship role would cut it, so I think
Because I don't think any of those teachers, especially in elementary, go, "Ooh, I hate kids. I love this job." Because if the school's failing that badly, the teachers know. They know something's wrong, and nobody goes, "Oh, I like to go to work and fail."
There's one thing I would like to plan to see with, in Nixon, there's a different type of teacher here that you don't see in certain environments. And there's people that we would never allow to walk in the doors here that could go to other districts. And there's another layer even lower than that. And in that type of environment, there's going to be several of them. The model I like to talk about is the situational model where you'll be tighter and looser at times. At first, you may be a little tighter, and oh, you're a good teacher, I'm looser. And you may take them 9 weeks to figure out the players, but there's a group you'll have to put on players because they're there for their own reasons. And you let the others fly, and they're going to see you as a dealer of hope, and they're going to buy in. So that first year, you may have to work some plans, but you've got a core team that's with you. If you have to choose great teachers or great leader, if I choose the great leader and have a weaker faculty, give them 3 years, and you're going to attract great teachers. Or if I have great teachers and a weak leader, give them 3 years, and a lot of your core group are going to leave together with us great leaders. The greatest intervention are teachers. The intervention we have as the leaders are the principals that we hire. Because if you have great public support in here, how you going to lead? So in that environment, you may have to be very tight at first until you know who you can trust. Because there will be some people that you cannot trust with children. They're going to hurt children. Because there's a different type that you don't see every day here. But if you've ever been in a high poverty environment, there's really some bad people out there that should not be in the profession that other people hire because they're so desperate. Just think of that.
That's good. Okay, well, in the interest of time, we do want to have we want you to be able to have some time to answer, ask some questions, and also talk to you about our assignment. We had a component focused on management. And Warren Bennis said management's doing things right, leadership's doing the right thing. And one of the things that comes with management is how to manage time. Honestly, time is one of our greatest challenges, isn't it? And there's a matrix that I think it probably originated with Eisenhower. Stephen Covey used it as well, and it is the important, urgent matrix. And where do you operate from? What sort of tasks are needed within each of those quadrants. And so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time doing this, but I think it's worthy of you looking into and thinking about your own day-to-day tasks and where do they fall and where do you want to spend most of your time, and are there things that you can eliminate and just stop doing because they are not urgent and not important. I like how Eisenhower put this. Do it today if it's important and urgent. Not urgent, schedule a time. Not important but urgent, delegate, and then just eliminate those things that are not urgent and not important. Matrix handout. This is just a handout that you can look over. It kind of puts in perspective in the school world some of the things that we do encounter that require time management. And so before we get to the assignment, though, Dr. Loden and I did want to just make ourselves available for any Q&A or any thoughts that you have on leadership or questions that maybe you wonder about. And so we'll just open it up to any questions that you might have. think I probably aspire to be a transformational leader. You know, I think that carrots and sticks, and you know, we try to motivate people a certain way with incentives at times or punitive measures. But really, the best way I think to motivate someone is to get them to intrinsically want to do it, and you know, finding ways to do that is what I try to do. Not always successful. Questions?
As master's candidates, those of you that are specialists and have a master's in administration classes, please make sure that you don't stop your research or your thoughts on the leadership theories right now, because they will come up later. So keep them in the forefront of everything that you're doing, so that, because with us having these classes, we don't have 8 weeks of this one class. So you really need to keep that in front of you and kind of revolving in front of you, so that when you do get to your master's classes with MSU, you have those pieces in the back of your head for those classes that you'll have with them.
And that's a perfect segue to your assignment. So you will be writing a disposition, which is essentially an essay paper. This is one of the requirements from Missouri State. And essentially that paper will be 3 to 5 pages. Some of the things within the assignment you can see. Main thing you want to consider is this philosophy of leadership. As Dr. C said, will be a good springboard for you in terms of jumping in and discovering what that is for yourself. These assignments, I believe, will be, it's already in Canvas, I think. And
so it came out today at 5 in your Canvas. So, like that. See, Kristen sees that. I've scheduled assignments to come out at a certain time.
Oh, I thought you just did it right then.
No, I didn't just do it. I had it because I've done it before where I schedule it early and they're all like, yeah, I know what it is. But it is in your assignments, so I did put all of that piece in there for you. The important thing to remember is you can submit your assignment, but it is only there to hold it as your assignment, not as for Dr. C to grade. I'm not grading your assignment. I'm happy to look at your assignment. I'm happy to give you feedback on your assignment. But I'm not putting a grade to this piece, because this is your work and it is your artifact for this class. This isn't the only class that we have in this leadership piece, but it is a part of, there will be 2 or 3 other ones that will pertain to this class. So this is an artifact that you'll need to keep for whenever you get ready to graduate. It will be an artifact that you'll have for showing what you've done with these classes.
I know you're not grading it, but just to clarify, didn't you say in the summer you're going to make sure we've done them all?
Yes, I
so
am.
You still want us to turn it in, or just like...
If it helps you, so whatever benefits you, I'm not going to go through there and go, oh yeah, you did this and that. I'm going to put a matrix up.
So like we'll check off like, okay.
Yes, I'm going to put a matrix up. So because the thing is, you're going to be like, you know what, I feel pretty good about this. I was inspired by the leadership that we had, discussions that we had tonight. So 3 pages, I think I can roll that out pretty easily. But then in 2 weeks, then there's another one, and 2 weeks and another one. So it's a management piece, and I want to be able to have that there as a management piece for you if you want to submit it. Or that assignment's going to be in your, I put it to where it's not due until June of 2019. That way you can go in as a student, see all the assignments that you still have, because it will catch up to you very quickly and they'll be there for you. So hopefully that'll help organize just a little questions about your assignment that you guys have?